116 teams to go on my road to predict all 131 teams this college football off season. We are moving on now to the Indiana Hoosiers as we're on now to the Big Ten, going down power ranking style. And this was, the Indiana Hoosiers blew up last year. They were not a good football team by any means at all, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But man, this was just a disappointing season after the 2020 that Indiana had. But hey, maybe they can right the ship and turn things around in 2022. So can Indiana maybe prove that last year was a fluke and get back to being one of the better teams in the Big Ten? Or will Indiana have another season of disappointment in Big Ten play? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. And hey, I'm predicting all 131 teams this college football offseason, which means I'm doing your favorite team. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you guys know when your favorite team gets uploaded. And to all my Indiana fans out there, or to any college football fan out there, but especially Indiana fans in this video, you guys are going to know your team a lot better than me. So if you want to add something, feel like I missed something, or just plain got something wrong, because hey, that happens sometimes, leave it in the comment section down below. I will be happy to read through them. Indiana in 2022, what are they going to do? Well, I'm going to tell you. And what I think they're going to do, at least, they are the 13th ranked team in the Big Ten, according to me at least. And again, like I said, this was just a dumpster fire last year. There's really no other way to describe it. Looking at their stat lines, none of them are great. 290 yards per game, 17 points per game. That yardage is dead last in the Big Ten. The points second to last in the Big Ten, only behind Northwestern. And then as far as their defense goes, this was a team that was led by their defense in 2020. And it was not very good last year. 383 yards per game and 33 points per game. The 33 points per game allowed was the worst mark in the Big Ten Conference. So this is an Indiana team that's got to start picking it up, on both sides of the ball. But they're losing some talent. That would have helped them do that this year. That sense is now no longer on the roster. And starting off with quarterback Michael Penick, 939 yards, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Did not look like the Michael Penix of 2020, and then went down with an injury, which has looked like the Michael Penix of years past. He's had injury problems throughout his entire career. I feel really bad for him because we've seen what he can be, right? We've seen the true Michael Penix in 2020 form, but it sadly is no longer going to work out in Indiana uniform. I believe he's transferred over to Washington, so good luck to Michael Penix over there. Running back Stephen Carr is gone as well. He was the leading rusher, 600 yards, 6 touchdowns. A couple guys in the wide receiver room. Their 3 leading receivers from last year are gone off of this team. That's tight end Peyton Hendershot, 543 yards and 4 touchdowns. Lead wide receiver Ty Fogel, 512 yards and 1 touchdown. And Miles Marshall, 311 yards, no touchdowns for him last year. So all 3 of those guys are gone off of that pass-catching unit. Defensive line, you lose Ryder Anderson, who had 48 tackles, 3.5 sacks last year. Also guys like Jaron Handy and Weston Kramer. Linebacker and leading tackler Micah McFadden is probably one of the biggest losses off of this defense, if not the biggest loss. 77 tackles, 6.5 sacks last year. Also James Miller gone as well off of this team. He had 16 tackles, 2 passes defended last year. On the defensive backside of things, your second leading tackler, Raheem Lane, is gone. 65 tackles, did have an interception last year as well. Also, Marcelino Ball and Reese Taylor, a couple names that are gone off that defense as well. But what do they have coming back, Nate? What do they have coming in? Well, Connor Bazelak is the transfer over from Missouri. That figures to be that starting quarterback. You still have Jack Tuttle and Donovan McCulley coming back. But I don't think either of them are going to beat out Connor Bazelak with a guy as much experience as he had in a conference like the SEC. Connor Bazelak could prove to be Indiana's calling card, right? Could be that guy that comes around and changes things here at this program from what it was last year. A couple guys in the running back room transferring in. Sean Shivers and Josh Henderson figured to be 1 and 2. The wide receiver room, you return DJ Matthews, who had only 165 yards last year. You also return tight end A.J. Barner, 162 yards and a touchdown last year. But you get a couple guys from the wide receiver room in the transfer portal. Emory Simmons, Cam Camper transferring in, and the Omar Cooper is a freshman coming in that's probably going to end up sitting behind one of those three guys there. And Omar Cooper, freshman that could come in and probably could prove to play some pretty big minutes there as well. On the defensive side of the ball, you got defensive lineman Miles Jackson is a huge part coming back. Also linebackers Cam Jones, Dasan McCullough. And then the defensive back side of things, Tywan Mullen, Devin Matthews, and a guy that's not on this list, Jalen Williams, with 11 with 11 passes defended last year. Also, Bryant Fitzgerald, 41 tackles for this Indiana defense last year. So, Indiana's definitely got the talent to make some improvements, but let's look at their schedule to see how the improvements can be made, right? Well, the schedule, still not super favorable if you're an Indiana Hoosier fan. Non-conference, you got games against Idaho, games against Western Kentucky, but the one that jumps out to you is that road game against Cincinnati. Again, a team that made the college football playoff last year. They lose a lot off that team, but there's still a lot of talent coming back. We'll talk about these games in a little bit. In terms of Big Ten play, you got home games against Illinois, Michigan, Maryland, Penn State, and Purdue. Road games against Nebraska, Rutgers, Ohio State, and Michigan State. So, taking a look and kind of previewing these games. Starting out with the non-conference game, Idaho should be a pretty easy one. As far as Western Kentucky, look, this is a Western Kentucky team that, yes, they lose Bailey Zappi at quarterback, but this is still a very, very talented team and possibly could be the most talented team in Conference USA moving into 2022. They were conference runners-up last year, probably could be conference favorites next year. Look, this is still a really talented roster. Indiana cannot take them lightly. Same thing with Cincinnati. Yeah, they lose a lot, but this is the team that made the college football playoff last year. They have one of the most talented head coaches in the nation in Luke Fickell, and they still have a roster that's capable of winning 10 games this year. So Cincinnati, this is definitely a team that you got to watch out for Indiana, and you play them on the road there as well. So that's going to be quite the interesting game right there. In terms of the Big Ten play, I don't really see a lot of favorable matches in Big Ten play for Indiana. I mean, you got the home game against Illinois, sure. Home game against Maryland, but that's a program that's looking to take a step in the right direction this year. Same thing with their road games, right? Rutgers, not necessarily a super tricky road game, but that's a team that's looking to try to step it up with Greg Schiano back at head coach. And then just some flat-out difficult games to play. On the road at Nebraska, this figures to be Scott Frost's best team yet. On the road against Ohio State, they figure to be one of the best two teams in the nation. On the road against Michigan State, who, are losing a lot from last year, but that's still going to be a really talented group in 2020. And other games that I haven't talked about, Michigan's going to be a hard game to win. Penn State's going to be a hard game to win. Purdue is going to be a hard game to win. Those are all teams that have kind of established themselves as really, really solid teams in the Big Ten. So I don't do game by game. I do more percentage-based outlook to help me predict the team's record. And here are the percentages for the Indiana Hoosiers. Red means you're probably not going to win the game. Orange means you're still probably not going to win, but hey, it's college football, an upset can happen. Yellow are your 50-50 high upset potential games. Yellow-green are games where you should win, but watch out for the other team on the other side of the ball. And games in green are, you might as well book it as a win. So 2 games of the green variety, and the games I kind of talked about that Indiana should win. Again, Idaho, self-explanatory, should be a pretty easy win there. And then Western Kentucky, again, they lose Bailey Zappi, but there's still a lot of talent coming back. Indiana cannot take that team lightly. And then we'll go with the other non-conference game right now. I do have it in yellow. It's the game against Cincinnati. This is a game in which Indiana, I don't think is going to be favored, and I don't think even has the edge talent-wise. This is definitely a 60-40 game for me, barreling on the edge of a yellow-green game. In fact, I highly debated before I started recording this video to put that game in yellow-green because I am that confident that I think Cincinnati's going to win that game. It's just Indiana's got to do so much improvement so early in the season in order to go on the road in Nippert Stadium and be able to win that game. And the crowd for Cincinnati should still be really, really good this year. So when you get into conference play, again, not a lot of favorable matchups. There is a game in red. It's the game against Ohio State. Look, going into the horseshoe is one thing, but when Ohio State, as usual, projects to be one of the top teams in the nation, it's going to be a hard game to win. And then you got just a lot of games in orange. Michigan State, Penn State, Michigan, and Nebraska are all in orange. And those are all games where all of those teams should be around the 8 to 10 win range. Or I should say the 7 to 10 win range, absolutely. And Indiana's, I think, is going to struggle against all of those teams. This figures to be Scott Frost's best team yet. Penn State's trying to put themselves back on the map. Michigan State and Michigan were two of the best teams in the nation last year. So really, really hard games on the schedule there for Indiana. But you do see a lot of games in yellow on the schedule. But I think they're deceptive yellows because they're more of the high upset potential games than kind of the 50-50 games. Although, take Purdue, for instance, right? I think that's going to be an upset game. I think Purdue's going to be pretty good this year. And at the end of the year, where Purdue can possibly win the Big Ten West, that could be a game that could spoil their chances. Rutgers, that's still going to be a tough road game to play. They're looking to rebuild. Maryland, another tough opponent that's looking to take that next step. And then Illinois there as well. I think that's really the only favorable Big Ten matchup. And when I look around the schedule, I just don't see many wins for Indiana. I got this team going 4-8 in 2022. Look, this team has got a lot of talent on it. Tywan Mullen, Connor Bazelak, DJ Matthews, Omar Cooper could figure out to be pretty good. But this is the Hoosier team that needs improvement and needs improvement fast. Otherwise, I could see them going as worse as 3-9. They might even have another 2-10 year. But again, I could see this team surprising people as well. Maybe going 8-4 somewhere along there as well. Because this is the team that, like I said, does have some talent on it. So if that talent can prove itself and Indiana can prove, okay, 2021, that was a fluke year. 2020, this is the real us now. Indiana can have a really good season, but there's going to need to be a lot of improvement on both sides of the ball, especially offensively, if Indiana's going to want to get back to a bowl game. I got them going 4-8 in 2022. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, share the video, and remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all of you guys in the next one. Goodbye.